Oops, I just realised I paid no, that was, oh, I don't know, the logos. We still got to do a proper header yet. I'm going to get one about 8 seconds or something long, and I'm not sure what happened then. Anyway, we're back and trying to get this happening. The good news is Rob's finished all the onboard footage from the entrance, which is really cool. So we got a little profile from everyone except Dan. We never got Dan's onboard footage before he took off again. And we'll be playing either one of them or the video boat tours every day now going forward. So I think we've got about another 10 days or something like that or more. So watch out for that. We'll do the we mentioned yesterday we'd do another video tour today, so that'll come up shortly, and then we'll do a mix. We've got 2 more video tours to do, boat tours, and then we've got 8 more entrant onboard footage bits, I think. And good to see Jasmine got her Starlink up. That's quite fun. It's changes the game a bit for a mini sailing around the world when you could do live interviews, and things like that. We could put her up live here on the thing. I think I should say something about all my spotchy head here things I've got. I've had in the last probably 20 years, I've had something over 20 various skin cancers and everything all chopped up and taken off, and from here, there, everywhere. It's been going on for 30 years. Because when I was sailing, when I was a grotty yachty, with blonde hair down to here and all that sort of rhubarb, we never used to wear clothes. And when I was a kid, even as a teenager, it was a big deal. You just got brown, you got black when you were a kid. Younger than that, from 9 and 10, And so now I'm paying the price. But yeah, I've had lots of different things. And I've got some skin issues there that we're dealing with now. And it's gone a bit spotchy and stuff. So that's why I got all this sort of funny stuff going on. Anyway, moving right along. The news is Dan's slowed up a little bit. He got a bit of a backache. So we've got Adam out there with a couple of cracked ribs. And we've got Dan now with a bit of a backache. He's fine. He's just taking it easy for a bit, so he's not able to be 100% performance right now. Okay, but he's doing pretty well. He's still hanging in there, playing the game, and everything is well on board. As for Jasmine's cooking expertise, I'm not sure about that. I had a laugh. I said to Jane, do we really want to share this? Jeepers. It looked like eating 2-minute noodles that have been festering for 12 hours in a plastic bucket. It was quite cool. If you haven't seen it, it's really good. So there's one thing about Jasmine. She's she is what she is, and you get what's there. It's fantastic. So all good to see. Anyway, straight onto the tracker now, and then I've got some stuff. I'm going to show you. The Dodger arrangement on Trekker, because I reckon Dodgers are so important, and it reminded me when I saw Christian's onboard footage, and I may put him up tomorrow, just how good his Dodger is. I always call it the second best Dodger in the fleet, and it's just so important, and I really think that some of the entrants haven't grasped how much of a difference it can make in certain conditions. And I think you'll see some examples of that in the weeks ahead, because they're going to get solid trade winds. And when that happens, when you've got 3 meters, going up to 4, for day after day after day and literally weeks, you're guaranteed to get water coming across the boat. Guaranteed. Slap the boat, take out things that are stuck on rails and things like that. And if you happen to be coming out at the time that's going on, you can easily slip spray and even solid water down below. So a Dodger is really valuable. Anyway, more of that at the end. Now straight into the tracker. If I hit that, you've got the tracker, so I get onto the tracker. I've also got my glass of water here because I'm coughing for bits and pieces. So I'm ready to go. So Popeye, jeepers, I just listened to his half-hour conversation with Graham. I had no idea the calls were going for so long. So anyway, that was a big one. It was a bit slow, but it was very interesting nonetheless. And he's having an interesting time. He's picked up a bit of speed. He was going a bit slower the last few hours, and I wondered why. But now it's looking a bit more respectable, because by the look of the colour of the wind there, on windy, he's probably getting 15 knots. And the sea state, in fact, we haven't looked at the sea for a while. Let's look at the whole fleet for the waves. They should be building up. Well, it's already there. Okay, so that's saying at least 3 meters there now. That's come across the whole fleet. So the sea is being driven, and in fact, I'll just push this back, and you'll see where it's coming from. It's being driven by all this instability up north. There's some quite big pressure systems up here. Some of the Vendée guys who are now coming up this direction, they're closing into Cape Finisterre to cut across the Bay of Biscay. The girls, Chris Kramer and so on, they're down here and they're a bit worried about the weather going further forward. And I just had a look at it. I was talking with Ada on the video call about it, and it looks like the bad weather's going to move ahead of the girls, but some of the others are struggling to get around Finisterre, but it's all cool. They're big, fast boats. And so that's sending this swell down for sure. That's where these seas are coming from. Might as well look at the wind while we're there. And you can see some of this. Here's this all this funny stuff up the top. So it's solid system coming down and then turning into the trade winds coming through here because of that huge a strong Azores high that's forming up right there, and it'll come across the top here. There's the Azores. This is what you get this time of the year here, and that's quite pleasant for us, for our fleet. That's exactly what you want to see, and it's just a strong one, so good for all of them. And we went through this yesterday, but while we're here, I'll just show you. I'm jumping forward. That's the 23rd. There's the 24th. You can see it's very little change there. It's still holding, really solid. This is just classic textbook trade winds here. This ridge of, not a ridge, but the center of a high, squashed high, being squashed by the low pressure systems above it and creating this beautiful trade wind. So, that was fun too. I won't be a what do you call it, a deal breaker, but on Jasmine's footage, they got this big catamaran comes up and jeepers, so it's sailed right alongside her and took off. They'd be there by now, of course, because that was a qualifier. But anyway, this is great trade winds. I digress a little bit, and that's what they're going to get. So the only thing that's changing is the wind strength, and that'll create constant 3 meters to 3 to 4 meter seas for the next. They're just entering into the extra sort of wind now, and they'll start breaking those. When it goes 3 to 4, maybe the top meter can occasionally break, and if they got the hatch open at the wrong time, boom, they're going to get some water down below. So that's that one. Anyway, let's come up here and talk about the fleet starting at the back. Everyone's having a good time, and Popeye is doing 3.7, 69-mile day, not too bad, nothing to report negative. Jasmine doing the same on number 2, 3.6, 52-mile day. So Popeye's gaining, and Jasmine will slowly, I think we'll see her speed pick up a bit as time goes by. Jacob doing 4.8. He's the only one with a bad 24-hour mile, so I don't really know what he's done. That's obviously a glitch in the system. He didn't do 269, but he's hanging on to the fleet. And these guys here, I mentioned all the distances yesterday, but I thought really what I was trying to say is this fleet is all really on top of each other, because that's the track going forward to Antigua. And even though they're split north to south, they're all, as they converge to the finish, they'll all just start bunching up. It's quite cool. So anyway, Deja, John on number 100, doing 4.7 and the 107-mile day. I'm always happy when I see over 100-mile days, because that means they're on track. Over here, Immortal Game, 111-mile day, doing 5.3. They're all pretty much getting the same wind now, so the speeds are comparable with the same weather. 111 for Adam on Little Red, with his little injury, still hanging in there, right up there with the fleet, so that's good to see. And Argo, his onboard footage, by the way, is great. He did a good job. It's in German, okay, so you need to understand how you can get your captions, auto-generated captions on the YouTube, and then translate it to English if you're an English speaker. You can change those captions once you've got them up, translate it to any language you want. Now, because there is going to be a few of them in fact, we'll regularly be doing onboard footage. A few of them are in English, so you want to be able to make sure you understand how that is. It's pretty simple. I might have to show some after, but anyway. So Argo's doing okay, 4.5, 112 mile day. Peter Punk up the top, 5 knots and 115 mile day coming down. I'm surprised to see her drop down because the weather now has come in and she sacrificed a bit to get north, and it's easier to go straight line. So all the way now, you'd think your objective is run line straight to Antigua, excuse me, rather than drop down. But it might be the sea state because there's still quite a lot of north in that. And so it's probably the sea state that's pushing it down, just keeping the boat comfortable, which is understandable. Okay, so then coming across biggest monkey, been hightailing and hooning along, catching the other guys a little bit. 124 mile day, 5.3 knots, which is good. Little bow with slight back pain. 102 mile day, not as strong as he could have been. He's absolutely taken it easy. The message he sent was, he just dropped it down a bit last night just so he could have some rest and take it a bit easy. So that's the issue there, but nothing to worry about. Origami, 5.8 and 135 mile day. That's very healthy. These two are going hell for leather. And Capuchinet, Renaud, 132 mile days. So Origami's having a hard time trying to catch him, but took 2-3 miles out of him since yesterday. So all looking pretty good there. It's interesting. The contrast in these onboard footage is really unique. Pila's the best. She says nothing. She says nothing for the whole of the footage that we've got. It's only we've just put 3 or 4 minutes up. But when you watch the others, I watch them all together at the same time. It's quite interesting, and it works. She's just making you think about it. And some nice footage there. And Origami is Origami. It's just carry all over. They're quite cool. So you can look forward to that one every day going forward. I think that's all we need to talk about there. I mentioned number 2. Everyone's there. We've got the currents, temperature. Let's just have a quick squeeze. Because I know from my experience here, it's going to get warmer as they get further around. But right now, it's still pretty warm. That's showing... that's 23 degrees, maybe 23, 24, 25, maybe even 24, 25 degrees, and they'll be buttoning up soon. So there should be very little rain, no clouds for sun. A mixed bag, but there's a heap of them under the cover. So there is a bit of cloud there. That's because it's building. But I'm just going to build that back up to see what the other guys further away from the change. There's a bit of a mixed bag, but there's not as much there as there is here. You can see this is the change in the wind from the northerly direction into a northeaster. Once it gets to northeast, the moisture in the air starts to dissipate a bit, and you get your light, fluffy clouds, typical trade wind clouds. So, and I always, excuse me, when I see the size of these giant bloody chart plotters everyone's got, I can sympathise with them. The chart plotter I had on Tracker was absolutely tiny. It was the smallest one I could buy. Saves you using up energy like watching TV, Anyway, it's all happening, which is cool. Just before I start going through the questions, I'll just try and pull this up and show you some little things about the Dodger on Tracker. It looks very boxy there. It's an NV, very big Dodger and Bimini manufacturer here in France. They came and did it all for me, which was fantastic. Through some connections of Jean-Luc. But I'll just scroll through some of these pictures if I can. So you can see it covers quite a big area. So you actually go in there, and I could sit in there even when it's pouring with rain. So sitting under that Dodger as it goes through, I'll just sit there, and it just folds forward. So it's really easy. If you don't want it, if it starts or whatever it is, just get rid of it there. You can see it was done in COVID period. But it's very simple, and it comes right down to the edge of the seat, so it's sealed at the edges of the seat tops, up along the edge of the entrance there with the opening hatch, and across the top with the windscreen, and it's just supported by the roll bar of the Astrodome that I have there. So just a stainless steel roll bar that it connects to, and you just fold it back. So I put this here just to show people. It's funny. This is where my dagger boards used to go. You can see the mount there on the dagger boards. Some people are wondering what they are and how they stabilise the boat. They don't stabilise it for capsize, but they go in there and they just slide up and down. But I always had them tied on because if you get a big whack, they're meant to pull out of this mount so it doesn't break the back of the boat. They're just sort of held in by friction and held down by shock cord, but I had a safety line always connected, so we didn't actually really lose any. But anyway, that's from inside the Dodge looking out. It's quite substantial, and there it is again. So because I had, even with this, when sideways were hitting me, if I had the hatch open, sometimes the water would just squeak through some of this, and I'd couple of times, on 2 occasions got a little bit there. But you imagine what it's like if you didn't have this. It's just going to be very interesting to hear people's comments when they get settled into this stuff. So I think that's the last one. There it is in the top. This was just strapped on with straps here. This is why we were building it. Strapped on with straps onto the rail. So it's very simple to do, and it's possible even, and I know they've still got the template there, but they usually do series runs. They produce a lot of these, and like for a production boat, like a Beneteau 42 or something like that, they'll produce 200 of them, and people just buy them, boom, boom, boom. Whether they could make another one or not, but it's not that dissimilar to what Christian had on Argo. So that's just a design concept more than anything. Anyway, enough of that. A valuable piece. I thought every now and then I might just show you different construction aspects of the boats as well. Some people wonder about the keel. I mean, it's amazing because all the builders are building their own keels. Sometimes they get together and they might make 4 or 5 keels with one engineering company to get the straight. But it's to save money because, there's economies of scale when you're building a few. And they're very easy. It's a steel plate keel with 2 lead bulbs halves that people are producing themselves and just bolt on. It's really quite interesting stuff. So we may explain some of the aspects as we go forward. Anyway, g'day Rex, Lenka back again. Hurry up, jeepers. Rex, John, morning. G'day Christine. I'm not even going to try and pronounce Fuerteventura. Jeepers. Warship, nice boats. I've always admired them since the first one went across in the solo in the Ostar. There's a Warship 24, 57, 5, is that 520, 570? They used to be Warship 24, and one did the Ostar one time. Anyway, thank you for starting this and investing so much personally every day. Can you already assess the performance directly connecting hydrovanes? Hydrovane work, there's no question. As in directly connecting, taking the rudder off. It's interesting, and I'll be straight up front here because there's no criticism of any one entrant or whatever, but I'll just tell you my understanding of what's happening. And it was really fascinating for me to watch the onboard footage because there's still a heap of them. They won't use their wind vanes, even going to windward. One thing a wind vane will do better than you is when you're sailing to windward, if the wind vane's a good one, it will sail much better than you, and it'll keep doing it every minute of the day, and it'll follow every little wind shift to keep you going forward. And yet I'm seeing everyone there trying to steer to windward and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, what? Maybe it's me, but I've been brought up with wind vanes. And anyway, and then even Dan is suggesting he might move the Hydrovane off to the side and put the original rudder back on. Now, I've got to tell you, and I'll just explain the facts here. The surface area of the Hydrovane rudder, right, is the same as the surface area of the original rudder, okay? And both of them are connected with a tiller. So I'm not sure what Dan's hoping to achieve by putting the original tiller back on because he says he wants to get better control. Now, that I'll let you sort that out. You really need to get to understand and live with your wind vane. the Hydrovane works really well. I know that for a fact. So's the Wind Pilot, so's the South Atlantic. If they're all mechanically 100%, in other words, they've been serviced, looked after, and they're all working, the wind vanes will steer these boats like a glamour. I hardly ever. The only time I touched the wind vane, the tiller on Trekker, was when I wanted to hand steer for performance, and a lot of them are doing that as well. But you then, some are still coming to terms with it. So, in terms of then mounting the Hydrovane offset from the main rudder will work perfectly fine, because that's exactly what Renaud's got. He's very happy with what's going on. Renaud understands wind vanes as well, so he's raving about it. He gets too much sleep. He's got the Hydrovane steering a lot. He's also got a little tiller pilot. So you can see there's all these varying things, but Renaud is also relaxed with his boat. He sailed a lot before the Transat and so on. So there's still some of the entrants still not struggling, but still settling in, getting to know exactly what they'll do. So the Hydrovane will work mounted offset, or it'll work mounted centrally, and I think it'll work pretty much as well in either position. And so therefore, there is no negatives to mounting the Hydrovane in the central position, in my opinion, which is part of the reason that I eventually rolled over and said, okay, even though it's a one design class, if you wanted to do that, you could do it, because we would allow, and we did allow, for people to consider putting a trim tab and modifying the main rudder to fit a trim tab on the trailing edge of the 580 original rudder, and linking that to a flip-flop vane on the side, so you can make your own steering gear, as long as we approve it, because we want to make sure it's reliable. But Dan had actually done that already. He's put the gear on the trailing edge of the rudder to hold a trim tab, but in the end went with a servo pendulum system, a sailor mat, which he bought secondhand. So there's various subjects there, but the other reason we allow the Hydrovane to replace the main rudder is I know the Hydrovane engineering extremely well. It's designed for much bigger boats, like for 45 footers and things like that. And in my opinion, touch wood, it's well engineered, shouldn't break. You could lose, the rudder could slip off if the securing pin broke, but it doesn't matter because you've got it tied on. You must have it tied on, the same as your dagger boards, in case that happens, and you always carry spare pins. So once that happens, you've got to stop the boat, which will be a pain in the ass, and then slip the rudder back on again and put another pin in, which is not impossible. And so, and you also have to have, all the sailors have to have an emergency rudder steering plan, and a lot of them are going with using a drove off the quarters of the boat. So there's lots of options there. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. Holly, good morning, Don. When is my dad getting in? How is my dad getting on in Little Wren? I haven't had an update at all, but I know he did. They sent us a message. Yeah, sent us a message today. They're just saying all's well. So they didn't. The reason I nearly forgot it then, because it's all systems, all normal. So he's happy. He's happy on board. No problem at all. And he's one of the few that did send us an update direct to us rather than the manager. So he's doing fine, and he's sailing well too. The speeds are okay. He's looking good. Captain Joey, are they coming up on the 38 rowing races? No, most of the rowers are a long way in. They're a hell of a long way down, but they might start to interact in about a week. I think by then they'll start to be in the general area, and I'll put that tracker up again maybe tomorrow and just show you the combined tracker. I can actually put that up here. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I can share the screen. So tomorrow we'll show you where the rowers are. Interesting challenge rowing across the Atlantic. Now it's all pretty slick and high tech. Not like they did it in the good old days. I know Che Blythe quite well. He's the patron of our Ocean Globe race, and Che Blythe and John Ridgway were one of what I call the contemporary rowers. They rowed across the Atlantic in 1966 in a plywood dory they built, not like the current ones, with a canvas cover over it. And they did it all the real way. They did it without desalinators. They carried all their own water. They did it without all the electronics. They did it without GPS. They did it the hard way. And it's kind of interesting because that's what we do with the GGR and the OGR compared to the Vendée Globe and the Ocean Race. We bring it all back to reality. So and all the boats going across in the toughest row, the Atlantic one, which is fun to watch. They're quite slick boats, and they keep getting faster and faster. And the guy who just won it with the 4-man team, first one in, is Mark Slats, who was second in our first Golden Globe race. And he's a crazy guy. I met him while he was sailing around the world in Tonga. A couple of years before the GGR, he got a Rustler 36. He then did the Golden Globe race and came second, had a massive battle with Jean-Luc Van neck and neck all the way. Jean-Luc had been knocked down, damaged his rig, and could only sail slow all the way up the Atlantic. And Mark Slats and didn't quite beat him. But anyway, so just before that, he'd rowed across the Atlantic and broke the world record as a solo row. And I don't know how he recovered so quick off the rowing to do the Golden Globe. And now he's heavily into the rowing, and he builds the fast rowing boats. And he just went across with a 4-man team and just cleaned them up. I don't know whether he broke the record again, but he was first one in. Anyway, might want to do a quick tutorial on how to do the captions in English for those new to this. Yeah, I might do that just to be sure, because it is very simple. There is a little star at the bottom when you watch a YouTube video, and you hit that, and it'll come up with the captions. It brings a box up, and you say, yes, you want the captions, auto-generated captions, which will come across just here. You can do it. You can try it out on this. You can, because when it's on YouTube, you could get onto YouTube and hit that button, and you'll see auto-generated captions, right? And if you get it in English, what that'll mean is that when you're watching one of our onboard video footage from the Entrants, you will get auto-generated captions, which will be in German for Christian, right? And it might be in French for some of the others. And then when you've got that auto-generated, you'll see there you can do translations, and you can do auto-translate, and you pick your language, you go boom, so then you've got it. And I do that all the time. I've got it auto set up always on my YouTube, because I watch a lot of the French videos from the Vendée and a lot of the stuff that Ada does. Watch all of that, and it's just fantastic because you get it all there. You can watch the whole thing, even though it's not your language, which is cool. So I'll have a look at that tomorrow. G'day, Kaylee. John, please explain who is Frank. Oh, Frank's really quite a cool guy, and he just really doesn't want anyone. He's interesting guy, but he doesn't really want to be pinned down. He's working on a pseudonym on Facebook. So, but he's a cool writer. I'm happy to have him. So we're going to have through. There's another one probably going to pop up very soon, because we've got Graham doing all our fine detail stuff. He's going to write the book at the end of the MGR. We've got Frank's going to do summaries from here, and then we have another guy coming in soon. I won't tell you who, but if he does, it'll be fantastic, because he's a great writer and quite funny, great raconteur. Is that right? Yeah. Sailed around the world many times, been involved with lots of stuff. He does a lot of writing, and he was heavily involved with us with the OGR as well. He mentioned the other day, could he? And I said, yeah, why not? So that might pop up. Stay tuned for that. Okay, so Frank's pretty cool. Very famous guy. I've really enjoyed reading Graham's summary. Yes, so did I. I've got to say that. It's a big read, but it's all the detail. It's fantastic. Yeah. Thanks, Jack. Yeah, it's really it surprises me. I got to say this again. It surprises me how much fun it is when you do read Graham's commentary, because I pick up most of the social media stuff, and I sort of know what's going on. But when you see it all in that format, Graham's amazing. He's picking out, they're doing this, they're doing that. It's like, whoa, wow, that's really cool. So yeah, it is a good read. Most people nowadays want instant gratification, which I totally understand. If your video is too long like this, no one will ever watch it unless they're involved. But sometimes it's, I really enjoyed that last one that Graham did for sure. So hold on, please remind us where to look for the footages you just mentioned. Oh, we're drip feeding them. Okay, so there is a new page coming up on the websites that Rob will put up. And so, in fact, it's probably already there, that page, But as we post the clip, it'll be on that page, right? So the ones that have already been up there on Facebook and on YouTube, but they'll be linked together as one index on the website. All right, so just watch out for that. I forget where it is. I suggested to Rob we do another box at the front. If you go to the website on either of them, on the Mini Globe Race or the Globe 580 Transat, you just scroll down a little bit and you've got these boxes where you can get to different things. And anyway, it's coming up. But we've only released a couple. We've only released 2, I think, at the moment. So as there's more, they'll go there. But watch out, there will be one. We're doing a boat tour after this, and then tomorrow after the tracker, it'll be another on board, and I think we'll do Christians because it's quite a fun one. And it's in. Oh no, then he's in German. Jeepers! I won't do Christians. I'll do an English one first, so that I get a chance to make sure you're set up to do the captions for Christians because it's worth a look. Okay. I saw at one point today that origami had a reported speed of 6.3 knots. If that's the case, it'll be an average speed for 6.3 knots. And yes, I think you're right. That is faster than the theoretical hull speed. No, that's normal. If that is correct, there must be a bit of a planing going on. Yeah, there is. The strongest I've seen this fleet do on an average is 6.9. And if I remember rightly, it was origami again. So, yeah, the hull speed's not relevant, right? That's the first thing. And it's variable. We get quite a lot of people saying, oh, what sort of speed will they be doing in X wind? And even that's impossible because if you've got the boat empty for club racing, right, it's going to go a lot faster than if you've got the boat set up to travel across the ocean or around the world because it's a lot heavier and you've got a lot more gear. And then it depends on the wind angle and what sails you've got up because, it depends whether it's close reaching with the big asymmetric up or whether it's dead square or things like that. So it's very variable. But one thing is for certain, and this is the design concept, and I've mentioned this before, we don't have polars for the boat. In fact, the whole design was never, it's not coming from a computer. Janis Mandzurski, who's the designer, great guy, it's all done by hand, the way it used to be. It's very simple, very simple lines and all this, that, and the other. And so on. We did a full 360 modeling of it to make the kit, but the original design is all drawn by hand. So it's fast enough. And the big thing is the whole idea is it's 100 to 120 mile days, all right, every day across an ocean, as long as you've got wind enough to sail. That's what we always say. So yeah, they're quite quick, relatively speaking. I mean, and they will plane. They'll surf very easy because they're pretty flat bottom. If there's waves there, you'll just get a run off. And you put the big kite up and, flat water and it's reasonably strong. The kite will take a fair bit of breeze. And so you do start planing, so it's quite cool. Okay, sure. Graham, hi Don, I saw a photo of Trekker with a hydrovane fitted to the side of the type of rudder. Yeah, that was a disaster. A complete disaster, but let's wait and see what happens. Erton Biscardis, who's a great mate of ours, we've known him for a long time, entered the 2018 Golden Globe and pulled out pretty quick because he was missing his family. Entered the 22 Golden Globe, and again, even though the boat was looking okay and he could have continued, he decided to withdraw again in Cape Town because he missed his family again. He's a small boat man. He started with small boats, not just because he got bigger and bigger and bigger. He did a lot of starting in small boats because he loves small boats, and he absolutely loves Trekker and loves the MGR. So he's got Trekker now, and he did the Tasman last year, and the boat's currently in Antigua, and he fitted a Hydrovane. And this is what started the conversation because you've got the ship's rudder there, and he mounted the Hydrovane right next to the main rudder, which I know will never work. Sorry, Erton, but I've told Erton that. Because if you imagine I'm facing you, so you're at the transom looking backwards. And so if this is the ship's rudder and it's fixed, and this is the Hydrovane rudder going like that, and so the trailing edge is back here, it's pivoting that way. You see what happens as soon as it turns, it's like catching all the water there and trying to squeeze it through the bit at the back here where my thumbs are. And so it'll stall out for sure. It's like acting as a drag. It just, my opinion is it will never work. It's basic aeronautics. I've spoken about this before. air and water are the same, and that would never work. So I think if he wants to put it on the side, I think you find Entrant will have to bring it a little bit further away than the main rudder, and then it'll work. It'll work fine. Okay, but if it's, and I think at the moment is too close to the rudder, and it'll stall out because it'll jam the flow of water there. Anyway, let's wait and see. So Entrant is about ready to leave sometime in the next few days to go to Antigua because he had a guy fit the Hydrovane for him. He's based in England, in the UK or Turkey, and he's going over in a matter of days to sort that out, sort out the mount of the Hydrovane, do some sailing, and get ready to depart Antigua on the MGR. And this time he's in heaven because not only has he got two sat phones and all the rest of the stuff, he's got a Starlink on board. And he will be hammering that account. He's got unlimited data, unlimited phone calls, unlimited Starlink. He's got the computers, and so he'll be filing stuff and talking to family and friends all the way, and he is really excited. So he's a cool guy. So that's what that one was about. But I haven't sailed with it. I had a South Atlantic on Trekker doing the Transat, and it was really cool. I had a little problem. It was self-inflicted. I think I mentioned this. I pulled out I had to fit a longer shaft, so I had to disassemble it. When I put one of the big grub screws back in, I put it in with anti-seize, and it should have been put in with Loctite. Okay, and it kept unscrewing. And if I dropped it or lost it, it was a nightmare. So I had to keep that alive all the way across. But the vane did really well. Okay, g'day Pierre, Quebec, good. G'day Rex. I find the battle between Origami and Capuchine fascinating. Me too. Carey is hand steering extensively, absolutely. Renaud seems to be using his wind vane a lot, absolutely. This is amazing, eh? It's the difference. The onboard, you'll see. In fact, when I run them, I'll probably put Renaud directly in front of Carey, and you'll see the difference, right? Renaud's just cruising along, cooking in the galley and doing all this stuff, and maybe it's a bit of a show, but pretty relaxed and using the wind vane all the time. Carey's electric autopilot, wind vane strapped up, It's pretty cool. That was just from the qualifier, but they're all going well, and that's the beauty of this event. Everyone's got a different style and different sort of upbringing and sailing and so on, and the boats being one design, they're hard to get ahead. You can try really hard, but it's really sometimes hard to jump the other guy. So yeah, I think that's going to continue for a while. It's fun to watch, and the others aren't very far behind at all. So you'll see that big line. They'll just be a day apart. Some of them, a day or so apart by the time they're finished. G'day, Jonathan. Chesapeake. Ooh, sounds cold just saying it. Given the lack of experience in using trim wind vanes by some participants, maybe they should confirm they have used for a minimum 36-hour period in the qualifier. It's an art, science, and love affair you establish with your wind vane. That's exactly correct in terms of establishing your relationship with the wind vane, but that absolutely, I won't say it goes against what we try to achieve, but you can see that personally I walk a fine line between giving opportunity to sailors and making sure they've got enough experience to stay safe, right? Because one of the, I've done, somebody may not realize I've done a huge amount of adventure, a lot of adventure, not a huge amount. There's plenty of people who've done a lot more than me, but I've had a lot of fun doing lots of crazy things. And one of the things I constantly come up against in the past, over the years, people would say to you can't do that. And they say, why not? So, well, you've never done it before. And you just got to think about that line and just realize how ridiculous it is. If you've never done it before, how are you going to get to do it? You got to do it one time to get there. So everything from the GGR and a little bit of the OGR, and certainly with the 580, it's all about qualifying, right? And it's all about stages, little step at a time, so that anyone who really wants to do it gets a chance to have a crack at it. And that's one of the guiding principles that we use for everything we ever do with these events. The only reason we do this is to support adventure, because adventure makes good people. So, and a point in question here is Jasmine, and I know that I'm going to get people in the background saying McIntyre's bloody stupid. Jasmine doesn't know what she's doing. She can't even sail. She wants sailing lessons. That's not quite right. She's actually got a lot of ocean experience, right? And yes, there's some things about the sailing of the 580 which she hasn't come up against before, such as hoisting the big spinnaker, the A3, by herself on a mini without furling gears, right? And that needs some skill, but it doesn't mean you're unsafe. So when she's talking like that, she's really just being upfront and honest, right? And from my perspective, I've always said, we watched Jasmine very carefully, right, from the time she applied until she's entered the race and carrying on, to make sure that, in my opinion, she's not unsafe, and she absolutely isn't. She's doing a great job. And now I only bring this up as a way of explaining this whole thing about anything to do with the boats. And so the other thing is, we don't want to make this will sound funny. Whilst we've now got a one design fleet here in the Golden Globe race and also the Ocean Globe race, but I'll talk about the Golden Globe, we don't want a one design fleet. We want to have people, give them still a little bit of freedom to do whatever they want, and also keep it as a real challenge. You don't want to end up with the only people sailing these boats are the people that have already sailed around the world once. So we know that they're going to be challenged in the Golden Globe, and we know that not everyone's going to finish, because it's a huge challenge of attrition, because there's so many things that can go wrong, not only with the boats, but with the sailors. But that's what it's about. It's keeping the challenge open. So that's probably a bit of an obscure answer, Andrew, and I get exactly what you're saying. But the idea is, as long as they're unsafe and they're not, as long as they're safe, so we believe they're not unsafe, going out there, then it's all a learning curve. And it's another reason we do it with qualifications. So the qualification, sailing 600 miles solo, is a big challenge for those that have never done it before. And it'll teach them a lot, going from Lagos to Lanzarote. The next one, going from Lanzarote to Antigua, is another huge one. And that's a big one in itself. We sometimes focus on it being all about the MGR. It's not. A lot of people are just happy just to sail solo across the Atlantic, but that's also then the qualifier for carrying on through the MGR. And so you're building this experience all the way. And then the next thing, ultimately, there's some serious challenges coming up to get around South Africa. But when you have sailed, halfway across or nearly all the way across the Pacific, and by the time you get to Darwin sort of thing, or, up in that area, you really know your boat. You've learned a lot on the way. You've been underway for 6 months or so. And so you're ready and fully capable and prepared to go down and head across the Indian Ocean and head south. So that's part of what it is. Anyway, there's a bit of a long answer, but it's a pet subject. So it's like Scott, my reference is Scott of the Antarctic. He never went to University of Antarctic Exploration before he took off to the South Pole. He didn't make it back, but, that's part of having a go. So anyway. Yeah, Frank's a cool guy, John. Well, you like him. Peter Klexley, hi Don. In the boat tours, I saw some of the boats have a traveller in the middle of the cockpit, while others have only a few attachment points. What are the advantages and disadvantages? Very interesting timing for your question, Peter, because in Christian's onboard, it's showing a twin main sheet system, which most of the sailors and a lot are using in the Golden Globe. And when I saw him sailing with that, I thought, wow, that's the way to go. I wouldn't even, unless I was club racing, if you're only talking long distance, you'll see he's got some shots there with using the twin main sheet system, and it's perfect. The advantage is you don't have a traveller stuck in the middle of the cockpit. It's very simple. Also, you can triangulate the main sheet, so it stops it flopping around, because even if you're sheeted directly up to the boom, with the main sheet, it can still flop a little bit from side to side, and it really very easy, simple to build. You don't have to put all the bolts everywhere and things like that. So there's no question in my mind now that if I was doing a 580 for the Transat or for MGR, I would absolutely go a twin main sheet system. If you're club racing, I think it's kind of nice to have the fine adjustment, and take the Traveller across as far as you can, because then you're really focused on short-term 100% sheeting angles to make the absolute most out of it. But again, it's personal choice, and some things on the boat is just how you see it. But yeah, I really do like now the twin main sheet system. It's quite good. Okay. Joe, what's happening with the car? Oh, well, okay. They've found a gearbox, and I think they ended up getting a reconditioned gearbox and waiting for it to recondition. But it's taking 10 to 12 days to get it to the car and get it fixed. So now the drama is, do we have time to go back and pick it up and drive it back with the rib from Lagos before we have to fly out to Antigua? And I don't think we can. So we'll see how that pans out, but we'll see. It's just everything's down there. We've got gear in the car. Our Starlink is in the car as well, or in Portugal waiting to come up. So anyway, we'll see. Are there plans, dates for future MGR? Yes, there are. It's a 4-year cycle. So the next one is in 2029, 4 years from the start of this one. And then there's a Transat in between. So you can see that makes a Transat every 2 years, which is right, and an MGR every 4 years, which is right. And the 2026 Transat will have a two-handed division in it, and we'll have the notice of race out for that straight after the start of the MGR. So, and the same, I think we're putting out the notice of race for the 2029 MGR in July of this year, I think, something like that, after they leave Fiji. So good luck with that, Jake, if you're going to have a go. This is interesting. Jeez, we've got more and more questions coming up. But I used to do a weekly Q&A session live on here, and I don't know whether to keep tagging it on the back of this, each of the trackers, or whether we do a dedicated one, because some people won't know these questions and answers here. So we do it and get them all the time, get them again. But we'll carry on, see how we go. I watched some stuff about Jasmine's rowing crossing, but the lack of sailing experience I love. It makes it feel more accessible for someone like me who has little known experience. So that's exactly right. It'd be nearly impossible to get to the start of the MGR or the Transat without having enough sailing experience to be safe. So when you hear about some of the entrants not sailing their boats, like Christian, for instance, he didn't sail his boat at all until he got to Lanzarote, and I didn't sail Trekker. I sailed it for 2 hours before I took off on the Transat. That's because we've got sailing experience, right? And so it's just learning a new boat. But if someone's getting their sailing, we'll be talking to you, you'll be talking to us, you'll know what level you've got to get to, and you don't have to be superhuman to do the Transat. You've got to be safe, and we make sure that happens. So, and quite a few of them, you'll see here, this is just even the qualifier was their longest ever solo voyage. To sail 600 miles solo was the longest ever that they'd done. I think John and Popeye, I think they'd only done a couple hundred before that. So, it's not uncommon either. And it was for Jasmine. It was her longest solo, but she sailed number 2 for a bit in the UK first. With the rudder and the Hydrovane, he will exactly gain less speed in light air. You're right, because you've got more drag down the back. If you put one side by side, you've got more drag. If you put your Hydrovane offset, you're going to take off one of your removable dagger boards. But I think there's an argument to say if you've got the full 580 rudder plus an offset Hydrovane like Renaud's got, and he's very happy with, you would just get rid of both of your dagger boards because you don't need them. You've got 2 blades in the water. You're going to track super strong. And then it comes down to, what do you do if you're hand steering? Do you want to take the rudder off the Hydrovane, which you can do, or do you want to leave it free flopping, or do you want to link it? Because you can put a link between the offset Hydrovane and the main rudder. So when you're turning, you're actually turning 2 rudders. I mean, there's different things you can do there. So there's pluses and minuses to everything with the Hydrovane and rudder, and that's normal. That's what you get with sailing. Everything's a compromise. Mike, don't love your explanations. Why not having done something is exactly what makes it an adventure. Yeah, I've never sailed, never built a boat, but I've ordered my plans. Sounds cool. Good on you, Mike. Yep, that's what it's all about. And you're not alone. You know, you look back in history, and there's a lot of people have done exactly what you're doing, Mike. So just planning, preparation, and execution, and good luck. And the builders are there. They've got a great builders community on Facebook. You know, the Facebook builders group. You get questions, they'll fix you up straight away. And sailing is, you know, you got time to learn to sail properly and make it all happen. So, you know, Don from East Africa, you know, Mike. Will the guys upload some content once they are in Antigua? Little to no news from many of them. Yeah, the footage, they give us copies of all of their onboard footage and then we'll get it up. And so the footage you're seeing now that we put up just comes from the 500 miles, 600 miles across in the qualifier. So once we have all of that footage, it helps us get stuff up while they're sailing to Panama and then while they're sailing from Panama for 50 days across the paddock to Marquesas and Tahiti. Jasmine reports problems with the power supply. Did you have enough energy for the few electrical systems on Trekker, or did you have to consciously manage? No, I had plenty of power because I'd turn everything off. And I only had little ones. There was a 5-inch GPS, you know, the smallest screen I could get, and so on. But I would manage my stuff very carefully. I had one flexible panel on the back of the boat on a pole, you know, with a windsurfer bracket, and one panel on deck just forward of the bubble, which was reasonably clear. But any shadow over a solar panel creates havoc because people think that the solar panel, if you've got a big panel and you have a little rope shadow across it, you think that's all it is. It's only going to lose like a few percent of the panel. It's not, because most of the panels now still work in a daisy chain. So they go like a snake with the power. And you put one little shadow across it, and what happens is the solar cells are producing power, but as soon as it gets to the shadow, it's got to try and push that power across the shadow, and it's really hard to do that. So you lose efficiency dramatically more than the surface area of the shadow, like hugely more. You know, it's got not the surface area at all. It's where the shape of it is in the snake, and if it's on one set going that way, it's not too bad. But if it crosses over the daisy chain, you're in trouble. But nonetheless, I sail with most things off. I use headlamps, and I never ran out of power. But I didn't have a lot on. You know, I'd turn my VHF off if it wasn't there. I'd often, if I thought there was low traffic, I'd do a blind radio call on the VHF, all stations, and tracker, radio check, and just listen. And if no one's talking, you know, there's probably usually no ships around either. But anyway, that's just the way I did it. Oh, one thing I meant to say these things here. One thing that we have, besides nav lights, you've got to have nav lights on the deck level, and you've got to have nav lights at the masthead, like a tricolour, to do that. But then these are mandatory, and these are they're powered by 2 batteries, 2 Duracells in there. There's a red one and a yellow one, and they have a photo cell in there. There's an LED bunch like a chandelier. You can see it there. You've got all these LEDs, and they're all facing out that way. So when that's there, you just tape this up on the back of the boat like that, and as soon as it gets dark, they turn on automatically. You just go dum, 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 banging away. And as soon as the sun comes up, they turn themselves off. If you come up on deck and you want to turn it off, you just give it half a turn, and it's turned off. So it's not blinding you. It should go down below. You just give it half a turn again, and it turns on again. And with the red and the yellow on either side of the boat, they're real eye attractor for hazard avoidance, you know, collision avoidance. And they're the same as putting party lights up on your boat, so they don't interact with your navigation lights. It's completely legal. It's got nothing to do with the coal regs or anything like that. And if you do go dead ship, like has already happened a couple of times since Lagos, and you have no power on board, then at least you've got these independent lights. And with 2 Duracells, they'll last for nearly 45 nights. Right? It's long nights as well. So that's another way of, having everything covered in case you've got problems on board. Anyway, that's it. So thank you, everybody. I'll try and sort out this tutorial about how to get your captions up for videos, because we'll start running the the onboards from tomorrow. More onboards every day. So that'll be fun. Okay, I'll see if I press the right button here. I think it's this one. I think. Jeepers, I forget which one it is now. See you later.
Witness history in the making. The McIntyre Mini Globe Race 2025. Small boat, huge adventure.